Hey, what's up, everybody? This is UnhingedGaming, and welcome back to the final part in my three-part series about Eminem, where today I'm going to be doing a full artist review, as well as a prediction for the album, his new album, which is coming out tomorrow. So we'll know very quickly whether or not I was right. Actually, most of you will probably be watching this video after it's already been released, and you'll probably be down in the comments being like, hey, there was this discrepancy or whatever. But in any case, let's get into it. I've got a lot to cover. So I'm not going to do like a full, 1998 to 2017 review. There's a lot of those on YouTube. If you want to see that sort of thing, you can already see it. I'm going to be talking mostly about his most recent stuff leading up to the album, and I'm actually going to just be talking about his most recent singles because his last album came out in 2013, and it's really just it. Again, it's been long enough. Anyone who cares has heard it. There's a lot of stuff out there about it. I don't feel like there's a whole lot I can say that hasn't already been said. And there's been a kind of a transition, then this is what I've talked about in my previous videos, that I feel like there's been just recently there's been a more rapid transition. Obviously his art has been transitioning since the beginning, but it has transitioned much more rapidly over just the past few years. And there's a really clear it's really clear in his singles. So the ones I'm going to be talking about are just about like everything from Rap God on, and there's three in particular, or well, two really in particular that I'm gonna be covering the most. But just really quick, we'll run through Rap God. Really well put together, great song in my opinion. It's a master. It's a total masterpiece. Like in terms of the track is great, the rhymes are really well put together. The kind of change he does, every style that he's ever done or done consistently, he puts them all into one song, which I think is really cool. But in terms of the tone of it, it's very much, I mean, obviously it's a pretty popular one. People still put it in things sometimes like memes and stuff, so like everyone is more or less familiar with it, particularly if you are interested enough to watch this video. But the tone is very cocky. Like, I mean, and that's pretty obvious even just from the name. Like, you're proclaiming yourself as a god. That's obviously not really a humble thing. And then let's go through. The next one to come out was Berserk. And that was again, not a whole lot to talk about with that. It's pretty much just one of those songs that is difficult to really understand the lyrics, and the lyrics don't seem very important. It's kind of one of those songs that like you'd expect a DJ to mix at like a dance club or something. It seems to be about partying. It's pretty standard for him in terms of those really loud, high energy sort of songs that he does. So the next one is Guts Over Fear, and this is when it starts getting interesting because that whole song is a similar tone to Walk on Water, where it's essentially about his career and what he's going to do next, and the idea of like, he doesn't have anything. He's basically just making the same song over and over again, and how many times can he say the same thing and make it rhyme differently. And it's got some things I like about that one. It's got some really good tones in terms of, it talks a lot about it's kind of calling out anyone who was feeling the way that he felt when he was starting out, and about, how many times he thought about just quitting, and maybe it's not a scene, and then like look at him now. And like anyone who feels that way, I wrote this song for you, which I thought was really cool. And it actually I listened to that earlier today, and I for those of you who don't know, I am a musician and I was songwriting earlier, and I couldn't really get inspired, and I listened to that song, and I came up with a song idea. So like it did that for me, that same sort of feeling. And yeah, so that one was cool for that reason. It's the same sort of tone of like feeling like he doesn't know what he's doing, where he's going. That again, I kind of talked about in my previous videos about him. So what comes after that is Campaign Speech. Now, this one was an 8-minute freestyled song that was, for being freestyled, I feel like fantastic. But it was definitely rage-filled. Much more reverting back to some of his angrier days. Oh, that was the other thing, really quick, I was going to say about Guts Over Fear is he talks a bit about like what happens when his anger is gone, because that's something I've been talking about, that like he might be transitioning into less angry music because he's not as angry as he used to be. But Campaign Speech is definitely very rage filled, but very well done, particularly considering that it was 100% freestyled. It goes political, it goes a lot of offensive places, like you do. Again, and I've talked about this in the past, I don't feel like Eminem necessarily has the same views that he puts in his lyrics. I think that he even says on the song that he's, something about getting these rhymes off his chest. And so I feel like that's a lot of it, is he's just like spewing his anger out onto the page and making it rhyme. But something that I thought was interesting, and he's ended songs like this before, but not generally freestyled. And the something about the tone was just a little bit different. So here, like, I'll just play the ending really quick.
Hard to describe, in fact, startling, violent perhaps are things that come to mind as soon as I start spitting rhymes like that, and you aren't really surprised at that. But as far as these lines I rap and these bars wouldn't dial it back if I star 69 the track. Why am I such a dick?
And what's interesting about that is that he, again, it plays along with what I've been kind of predicting with this, of where he does this kind of music that he's done in the past and then acknowledges, like, wow, that was really dicky. Why am I such a dick? So it feels like further evidence to me of where I'm kind of predicting the album's going to be going. So, and then the next two, Walk on Water and Untouchable, I covered both of those in my previous two videos. If you haven't seen those yet, click the eye in the upper right hand corner, go watch those, and then come back and watch this. Or some of you are just going to stick around here, and that's fine too. You can just not be in the loop on what I think about those. So that's kind of just my breakdown of the sort of progression of where it's a really, and that is one thing I will say about Walk on Water, is the transition from, and they only came out a year apart, from Campaign Speech that's like super rage filled and throwing insults around and all of that sort of hateful stuff, to something really personal. Like, Walk on Water is so personal, and it's very calm compared to a lot of his other work. Like, it goes a lot slower, the pace is a lot slower, the mood with it is a lot more melancholy rather than angry. So to have that transition makes me feel like something happened in between that year that made him just take a completely different turn with his music, because up to that point, Rap God, Berserk, even Guts Over Fear, like, that was kind of an odd one in terms of the lyrics, but it was still like throwing a certain level of insult at certain people. To Walk on Water, where it's 100% about him, and it's this very melancholy sort of tone rather than just pissed off. And there's definitely anger there too, but it's more anger of like losing yourself or losing something that you hold close to you, which in this case is his fame and his music and the way that he reaches people. And then to have the next one be Untouchable, which is, of course, something that, again, has an angry tone, but it's angry about what's happening to other people. It's not about what's happened to him or what people are doing to him or whatever, which is uncharacteristic for him. Like, he usually raps about himself, and in this case, he's rapping about a cause. So it makes me think that something happened to cause this shift, and maybe something did happen that's like widely known and I just don't know about it. That happens kind of a lot. I tend to be a little out of the loop just because I don't follow like celebrity news a ton. Just because I'm not into gossip, but so there could have been something that I just don't know about. But it definitely seems to me like something like instantly switched his kind of tone. So now let's talk about the album. And here is my prediction based off of the two songs that we know are going to be on the album, Walk on Water and Untouchable. The two songs that we've heard that we know are going to be on the album. And then the people who are going to be featured. Now, this is something that I've seen a few people expressing a certain amount of surprise that, there's ex-ambassadors and there's Pink and these people who aren't really hip hop, which he has definitely been known, and Beyonce even, that just wasn't as surprising because that single came out before the album was announced. It didn't actually, no, because Campaign Speech, well, before the set list was announced. Or the track list, I think. I might have the timeline off. I know Campaign Speech came shortly after Eminem said he was working on an album, but then I think Walk on Water came before it was like officially announced, with like the track list and all of that. Anyway, wasn't a big surprise. We already knew he had worked with Beyonce when the track list was released. But ex-ambassadors and Pink, and there were a couple others that I can't remember off the top of my head that were, again, not really who you would expect. And he's definitely worked with people who aren't hip-hop before, but not generally so many on one album. And that's what's interesting about it. And it feels like there's a new tone being put. And again, the fact that it's called Revival and that it was, officially announced. I think it was either right after, either way, it was around the same time as Walk on Water, which was all about, him not feeling like he has a place in his genre anymore. And then to have it be Revival, which feels like rebirth, he's recreating himself, he's recreating his sound. And the fact that even though a lot of his albums contains songs from other albums, right? Like his most popular songs he'll put on a few different albums. Revival contains all new songs, all songs we haven't heard before, of course, bar the two singles that he has released, but that are still new. So there's this kind of idea of that there's definitely it's all new. And he's spent a long time working on it. That's the other thing, is that it's been a long time since he's released an album, and presumably he's been working on, there's 19 new songs on there. That's a lot of new songs. And then the fact that he is working with people who, to the best of my knowledge, some of them he has not worked with before. And then they're different from a lot of the people that he tends to work with. And there's a lot of people who aren't very hip-hop, and who don't really match his old sound, which makes me feel like he is creating something new. And it's my opinion, personally, that it's going to be a lot less anger-based, and that he's going to start going more activist, if that makes sense. More stuff. I feel like we're going to be seeing more stuff like Untouchable, where he is channeling that into something that he cares about, and not just like ranting and getting stuff off of his chest like he has in the past. I think that I really feel like he's starting to care about some different things. We've seen that with Untouchable. We've seen that with even Campaign Speech. We've seen that with his freestyle where he rips Donald Trump. We've seen him caring about like real world issues, and we've seen that in the past in his music as well, but it's still been from a perspective of like how it's impacting him, whereas now it seems to be shifting to more humanitarian almost. And I know that it's kind of it seems kind of out there, a prediction of Eminem, because it's so different from his past stuff. Like it's very much not the Eminem that we've known in the past. but I feel like he's released some different stuff, and he's done a few things that he's never done in the past. So I would not doubt that he could be that different in his new album. And it's my opinion, it's my just kind of feeling that that's exactly what he's going to do. And it again really fits with what a lot of artists do when they reach a certain time in their life where they start to just care about different things. Again, I've talked about this, particularly anger-based music tends to get a lot mellower as the band members get older. And again, I don't think it's an age thing. I think that it's just you care about different things at different times in your life. And I think that it's taken a bit longer for Eminem than it's taken for a lot of people, but sooner or later, you're going to stop being pissed off at the world, and you're going to start putting that energy into something else. And I feel like he's been at that point for a while, but I feel like he hasn't known what else to do. And I think that he's starting to figure out that, you know, he always did this for himself. And it was always about, you know, what does he want to rap about? And then it kind of shifted to where, you know, he's famous and now he's got to uphold this whole thing. But now that he's not really feeling like he's meeting the bar anyway, I think he's starting to go back to like, well, what do I care about? What do I want to be putting out there? Because people don't want to hear this shit anyway, so I might as well just make it whatever I want it to be. And I think honestly that is going to make him jump in relevancy, because he hasn't really been completely relevant for a while now. But I think that he could be relevant again if he recreated his sound and got that emotion back into it. Because a lot of his stuff was just for, like, Rap God was just for fun. And he even says that in Guts Over Fear. He says that I just make shit for fun now, basically. And you can really tell the difference when there's emotion there and when it's just for fun. So I think there's going to be a lot more emotion, and I think that that's going to make a very drastic change in his music and the way that people view it. But that's just my theory, and we'll find out tomorrow if I was right or not. But, you know, if you agree with me, or if you're watching this after it happened and I'm right, or you just like the video, then, you know, let me know in the comments down below. And if you don't, then let me know in the comments down below why, like, you know, what's going on with that, why you think I'm wrong, or, you know, just tell me that I am wrong. I'm sure a lot of you will if I am wrong, and just kind of discuss it down in the comments. If you did enjoy the video, also make sure to hit that like button and subscribe and hit that notification bell if you want to see more. I upload every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. I'm thinking about doing more music related stuff. So far, what I've mostly done is just like YouTube news and some gaming news and some just like internet news. But I'm thinking I really enjoy music, so I might do some more music related videos. So, you know, make sure to subscribe and let me know if you want to see more of this sort of stuff. Also, make sure to check out all the links down in the description, all my social media, my Twitch, my Twitter, all of that. And in the meantime, I've been Unhinged Gaming, and I will see you next time.
Supersonic speed. You assuming I'm a human. What I gotta do to get it through to you? I'm superhuman, innovative, and I made a rubber so that anything you say is ricocheting off of me and it'll glue to you and devastating, more than ever demonstrating how to give a motherfucking audience a feeling like it's levitating, never fading. And I know the haters are forever waiting for the day that they can say I fell off to be celebrating.